Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, Anita Finley.
I have one of the loveliest women I know in my studio, radio studio right now, wanting to talk about being an energy healer, a person who uses energy to really get to you. And that may be a strange thing to tell you about, but I and she believe in positive energy so much, and it has helped us through our lives. But there's something special that Colleen, I don't know if you invented the Healing Touch group. Was that yours?
No,
it was just something you joined.
Right, yes.
But you shared that, and I was able to go and see what they do. And Healing Touch is so important for women who are having serious problems with cancer. And as a side note, are men allowed to come when you do these sessions?
Yes.
They are.
Yes.
Why don't you start off and tell us what Healing Touch is and who you really are with it?
Well, first of all, I would just like to say energy work is for anybody, not just somebody with problems. It's basically vital to our being. We are beginning to be more and more aware that we are energy beings. People now are affected by so many things in our environment, in cellular waves are affecting people in new realms that we never thought possible. And so that is bringing us to an awareness that we are, in fact, energy beings. Everything is energy. So when we begin to realize that we are kind of like an energy bank, we want to be putting energy into our bank, because there are many, many things that even just in our natural environment take it out. And so that's just a little bit about why it's for everybody, and especially if you're going through any kind of challenges, trauma, health issues, even emotional issues. It's I don't know how people live without it, honestly. Even for myself, I do regular sessions to help take care of me. It's the most primitive, most vital, that very basic survival level to fill us up and to take care of us.
How do people know how to do that on their own?
They don't know how, and unfortunately, no one teaches us that. No one teaches us any of these courses in school about how to take care of ourselves, even financially. Maybe now they're starting to have some courses that bring us a little more into the world, but as far as taking care of ourselves as an energy being, there's nothing. And so it's only those people that have sometimes gone everywhere else and nothing else works that come and find us, or people that are on a consciousness awareness path and they begin to realize and know that they are energy and know they have to feed their energy system.
And this is interesting to hear this from you, because you're a very well-educated woman. You have is it a PhD that you have? You have a doctorate in...
Yes. Well, actually, I was at the PhD level, and I got sick. And so I left the program then because it just wasn't serving me. It was actually depleting my energy.
But this is in speech therapy, I believe, wasn't it?
Which is communication science. And so to me, what opened up was this whole realm of communication with the body. The body has trillions of cells that talk to each other all the time. And if they don't have the right messages, there's a bunch of garbage going on.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. And, of course, I know a lot of people who you have really worked with and who have been very successful because of you. So it's when I think about energy work, and I remember what you said, that I probably couldn't have done it, but I took a Silva mind control course many, many years ago, and it did change my life, and it was really taking energy and seeing what we could do with it. And after that, I just believe in all this, and you and I, of course, have done a lot of things together. But the people who you first start dealing with, they don't understand this. How do you teach them that?
Well, some of them do, and usually those people that are my clients are those that do have some basic understanding. Sometimes it'll be a friend of a friend, or the hardest ones are husbands, because they still have kind of like that scientific mind that have to see it to believe it. But there are some very real analogies now that are available to understand energy. When you go to a light switch and turn it on, you don't see the connection go across the room to the light, but it's there. A big one now is cellular phones. You don't see wires or connections going to the cellular phones, but we can talk to somebody in any part of the world. That's basically what we're talking about. It's the same kind of thing.
And so when people are in pain, let's say mentally in pain, physically in pain, how do you work with them to get them then to use that energy to help them?
Well, first of all, any kind of pain is a contraction of energy. And one of the first basic principles of energy is energy expands and contracts. And if you think about expansion and contraction, it's a wave. It's a wave, and that's the way energy travels, through a wave. So if we begin to look at our lives as the waves of energy in our lives, are they balanced? Are they consistent? Are they all over the place? Are they up and down? Are they polarities? One really high, one really low. And so one of the basic things that I start teaching people is to begin to think of their life as expansion and contraction. So with pain is contraction, deep, deep contraction. And so it's getting in there energetically to see how we can raise the vibration, because energy is also vibration. So a pain is a very, very low vibration. So we want to raise that vibration. And it's done in many ways. It's done through hands-on. It's done through conscious awareness. It's done through essential oils. It's done through tuning forks. Nowadays, there are hundreds of ways that we can shift that vibration.
And so you are able to, do you have to help someone to get into a meditative state to be able to think of all this?
Not necessarily. It does help to calm the mind. And that's one of the basic things right now. Everybody's minds are way, way, way too busy, which takes them out of their bodies, which means they have no connection with their bodies. And so all of these wonderful cells that are wanting to support us in having a healthy body have no one to talk to, because we're off somewhere in our mind.
That makes sense. And you're right, absolutely right. I mean, it is amazing when you go anywhere and people, they hardly have a conversation. I mean, as we're having a conversation and they are either on their phone or they're running around. And I don't know how we're going to change that. But the work that you do, of course, is so important, because people need the help. As you said at the beginning, they don't really understand this. And so
it's for everybody.
It is. It is for everybody. Yeah. But if someone has cancer, and we can go back to the healing touch, I mean, that's pretty serious. And they are worried about so many things. Their family's worried. So it's even another part of the world, and their energy is probably being usurped in a different way.
And it's a wake-up call. Anytime someone has any kind of illness, it is a wake-up call, because your body's trying to communicate with you, and it's gone to its last resort. And that last resort is disease, pain, suffering, tumor, whatever it is. The body has gone that far to try to get your attention.
And so, of course, the first thing people do is they run to the doctor, they run to the practitioners, and they're fed a lot of things that and they don't know what else to do. And of course, we all read about people who have been healed and they have done it on their own. We've heard about people who've used the traditional method and they get better. But wouldn't it be better to do this before you get sick?
Absolutely. Taking care of yourself, remaining balanced on a day-to-day basis, because life throws us many waves. That expansion, contraction are like the waves of the ocean. Someday you go to the ocean and it's beautiful and just placid. And then other days you go and it's rocking and rolling. And that's life. So when we have these tools, and these tools are not only tools that I use on somebody, but they're tools people can learn for themselves, are tools that help us through all the challenges of life.
And you do a lot of different things, and I know you've had beating of drums. And why don't you tell people some of the methods that you use, which are unusual? But
yeah, and it's basically just to get people to raise their consciousness, to be aware that they are so much more, to be aware that we are connected to the trees and nature. And so we've had a drumming circle once a month, usually around the full moon, as close to the full moon as possible. I've had women's groups where we meet on a regular basis, usually once a week, and get into more of the spiritual principles of our body, learning about the energy mechanics, learning some of the energy exercises. There's just been a variety of training workshops, just all kinds of things that help people really know there's so much more. Our eyes see very, very little as far as what's really going on. And we base our life based on what we see and what we hear. But there's so much more at those subtle energy levels that are going on. And I think that's the next wave that we're opening up to. I personally have a belief that our next frontier is not space, not the ocean, it's our bodies coming home.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny that I have this little dog that we rescued, a little Snowy, and that is my meditation. When I get home and that little dog jumps up and down and I sit with that dog, the world could just go by. Now isn't that interesting?
Well, she helps you get in your body. You know, animals are very, very grounding. Animals are connected with nature. Animals actually use a different part of their brain than we do. They're usually in a more meditative state all the time. So it makes perfect sense. That's why animal therapy is a very, very good thing as well, pet therapy.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I hadn't thought of it. Of course, pet therapy is being used in so many places, especially for the elder population and for the children who have cancer.
Yeah.
Well, when someone wants, let's say that they're suffering, whether it could be from a problem with their children or with their parents, some people just can't manage all the responsibilities. How do you start off? What do you do with them?
And that is a major problem today. There's just too much. The major issue is overwhelm. And so when you're in overwhelm, your circuits get blown. Just like a circuit breaker on the house, we're similar to that in our own system of energy, that our circuits get blown. And so every individual comes in a little bit differently. Everybody has their own unique energy system. So it's kind of finding out how that energy system runs and how we can get it calmed down and how we can get it grounded again. To start, that would be the basics, to see if we can even get their energy system calmed down. And lately, the people that have been walking into my office, it's been very, very difficult to get their energy systems calmed down because there's just so much. They're almost like fried. One of the big issues right now is we have many, many energy systems within our whole energy system, and one of them is called the electrics, and that has to do with our heart and our brain working together. And a good energy therapist, if they touch somebody, they can usually feel if their electrics are off. And what that feels like is you're touching somebody and it's like sticking your finger into an electrical socket that you feel that surge of energy like a wire sparking. And that's what a lot of people are right now because they're not grounded and there's so much energy with all the cell phones, with the tools that we're carrying on our bodies. You know, we don't have little phones anymore. We have big phones. We have big phones that are computers. We have big phones that are sucking in literally all this electrostatic energy that then forms around the body, in the body.
And so you help them to see that.
Help them to understand that. Help them to put their phone away at night. Don't have it anywhere near your bed or your head while you're sleeping. My God.
Do people do that?
Yeah. And to keep it far away from your body, to do things that get you back into your own energy, walking in nature, taking hot baths with Epsom salts or baking soda, going to the ocean, some very, very basic things to help us get clear again because there's just too much. It really is now almost a necessity that everybody begin to learn about their own energy systems.
And we haven't talked about the television. And when you come home, the first thing we turn on is the news and we see the horrors of the world. And before we go to bed, if we're stupid enough to do that,
right.
And then we take that with us. You're just so right.
Yeah.
I mean, I have always admired your ideas, but I think you're right. I think today in our world, everything is just coming at us, and there is a point where you have to say, I'm going to be on my own island with nothing.
Yes. And actually, this is also a great time for personal choice. Part of our evolution of humanity is really to understand our choice, that this is a planet of free will. This is a planet of making choices. And to be able to have the strength and the fortitude to be able to make your own choices and not just fall in with the pressures of everything that's happening, but to make your own choices.
I'm really enjoying this conversation with you because I have thought about so much of this, and people who they seem like they're always on some sort of a black cloud. Mm-hmm. It's always raining. I mean, and why are some people always under this black cloud and some people aren't? I mean, and so they've done this to themselves, haven't they?
Well, I wouldn't say that they've done it to themselves. Some people come in that way. I have a belief that we are much, much more than this individual incarnation. So people come in this way. People, there's a lot of studies now that our brain is actually wired while we're in utero. So we get our coping strategies very, very early. And if there was a lot of trauma, drama, death, financial issues when we're in the womb, we come out programmed that way. And there's another reservoir of energy called the radiant circuits that happen right after the baby's born. If there isn't a lot of good nurturing touch, those circuits never get filled up, and they're our reserve. So that time of conception, birth, even the consciousness of two people coming together for conception influences our life, influences this incarnation, our being of this time in this, dimension and space.
So you're saying, so once this happens to someone, they are carrying this and they've got to learn to get rid of something.
It's their personal journey. Everyone has a personal journey, regardless of how you get here. And a lot of times, I believe that souls, want to come here so badly that they stand in line to get here. And they'll choose whatever parent, whatever situation, to come to be here. And then they forget that it's about their own journey, their soul's journey, to find out who they are, what they're about, and why they came here. It's
big
not really
stuff,
a mystery. It's a journey.
This is big stuff. Colleen Haney, energy therapist. She uses a variety of cutting-edge alternatives to traditional therapy to work with both children and adults, men and women. Listen, men. Unleash your natural abilities and discover new enthusiasm. Heighten your concentration and memory. Improve learning and reading skills. Recover from illnesses and health challenges. And enhance your surgical experience and reduce recovery time. So you'd like to contact Colleen for a consultation, you would call 561-212-6862. That's 561-212-6862. Or you can visit her website online, ColleenHaney.com, COLLEEN, Haney, HANEY.com. Well, how long have you been doing this work?
I've probably been doing it all my life and not really known. I would say actively with the practice for about the last 12 years or so. I started back in Pennsylvania. When I left the university, I then went to studies in this whole realm. I was kind of a closet mystic throughout most of my life.
I love that.
And so now, thank God, the world has also changed to allow me to have my personal journey and not burn me at the stake. So allow me to be who I am with the beliefs that I have and to help empower other people.
Okay, Joan, that's a great comment. Thinking just about what you said, that you've been doing it all your life. Yes, a lot of people are born with certain abilities, and hopefully their parents have encouraged them, because that's the worst thing that we see. Then a lot of people, the parents, really have an effect on them. And I've always asked people, when I see people who are really doing so well and they seem like they have it together, what were your parents like? And did you get a lot of love? And inevitably, people received love. And I've said now, love, no matter if you've been, you were born into a poor family or to a rich family, if you receive love, it's something very special.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really true. My family, God bless them, have their own journeys, their own experiences. My father chose to come in and have a disease at a very early age, right after I was born, and so my mom went back to work. So it was a very hard childhood. I had to grow up very, very fast.
But you felt loved.
I felt loved, but in the love sense of a roof over your head, meals, food, clothing. That intimacy, that closeness, I would say I didn't have it.
Interesting.
And so part of that has been my journey to find it for myself, to fall in love. And for years I went around, oh, my mother, oh, my father, oh, my childhood, blah, 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 until I finally realized that was my soul's perfect way to force me into falling in love with myself.
Oh, to
be my own parent. And that's actually what I help individuals do, to be their own good parent, to hear the voice in their head that says, honey, I love you no matter what. Oh, I didn't get this done today. There's too many things. Sweetheart, I'm right here with you. You are precious. You are adorable. I am so glad to be here with you. So my journey with my parents, and I love them dearly, and they love me so much more now. There was a lot of conflict,
And
a lot of
living.
confusion.
They're still living.
My father is deceased.
Yeah, of course,
my mom
yeah.
is still living. And
Good.
I'm excited to go see her next month for her birthday up in
Great.
Pennsylvania.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I had that love. I had that love from my mother, and it was always there. And I think that really helped me through everything, because I really think of her and always appreciate that, even though she struggled. She was, in fact, I was talking to someone else. I've talked to a lot of people. A lot of us were latchkey kids, and we never knew that was the word. We just came home like we're supposed to. We did our homework, or we played with our pet or something. But so a lot of people blame that, I was a latchkey kid, but that's not true. It depends if the environment was, was good.
Well, even if you were, or people believe they were a latchkey kid, it's your responsibility now as an adult to go back and heal your inner child. The inner child work, I think, is really, really critical now, because what you see running our world are the children that are out of control. And so everyone needs to take that personal responsibility to find their own child. And often we have many children running around inside us that pop out at any time, that take charge. Even with pain, I like to ask people, do they realize, is this pain even theirs? Because energetically, energy can jump from one being to another. So sometimes the energy may not even be theirs. The energy, and I'll often ask, how much of you is your pain from 1 to 10, and not in the nursing sense of how severe is your pain, but how much of you are the pain from 1 to 10? Because if you really look at it, it's a part of you, sometimes often a very, very small part of you, one of those fractured pieces that is carrying the pain, the discontent, the disease. And when we can bring that back in perspective and realize, oh my gosh, I have 6 parts that are operating here pretty good, and there's only 4, then we can bring things again back into balance. We can use those 6 as the helpers, to bridge the communication divide of good, healthy messages and bring someone back.
This is why I asked Colleen to come on our radio show, because she is so filled with, we'll call it metaphysical, we'll call it whatever you want to, energy, but she has such good words. And so I do suggest, if you're not really doing well in your life, mentally, physically, why don't you give her a call? You can see that, I'm sure it comes through over the radio waves, the gentleness, the intelligence of what she can do. She's very experienced at this. I was privileged to have my husband, before a surgical experience, much against his will, because he's one of the men, as you said, that very scientifically inclined, who came, and even though he doesn't know it really helped him, I believe it helped him, and it was just a lovely session. It was just relaxing, and Colleen talking to you while you're relaxing. And I also had a friend who had some problems with depression, and Colleen really does know how to get to the bottom of things. So let me give you her phone number again. It's 561-212-6862, and online is ColleenHaney.com. So, Colleen, if you had your dream come true for society, where would we all be?
Well, we would be teaching children at a very, very young age to know about their energy systems. We would be teaching children to know points on their body where they can touch, to find the wisdom of the ages. I said before, we have trillions of cells. They're all directly connected to universal consciousness. So our bodies are much, much smarter than we are. And so it would begin very, very early. You would see people with a whole new consciousness of their connection to all that is. You would see people, in deep communication with trees and water and animals very, very differently. And you would see people in a space with their own bodies of joy and love. They would be vibrating at that vibration of joy and love.
And so that has to be taught, and we teach them so many other things, and that's unusual. I haven't heard that before, but and so if I have, as you know, I have triplets. They're 9. I don't know how. I don't see them that often, but they live in Miami. But how would I even, not as a practitioner as you are, how would I even be able to help them?
Well, just being who you are, Anita, you are an extraordinary energy being in a physical body that just graces and blesses people by your presence. You're one of those lucky ones that got the vibration to be able to hold at a very, very early age. I would say that the journey begins with the self. And so individuals that are concerned about passing energy forward need to take care of themselves. Moms are critical because the moms actually hold that energy system for the whole family. So individuals that are mothers or individuals that are holding that vibration of the mother of the family, that feminine energy, really need to take care of themselves. And one of the ways to do that is to begin to learn about their own energy, their own body, to learn the points, to teach children at a very early age if they have a boo-boo or they don't feel good or their tummy hurts or they feel upset. What can they do in their own body that can help them at that moment feel safe, feel secure, feel at peace?
What happens is their mommy, who is an Italian, wonderful woman, they adore her and she adores them. So you see that happening all the time with those children. And even though some people might say, well, she's spoiling them, she's maybe spoiling them with lots of love and security, which you were just sharing, which is the ultimate.
As long as they realize that love is in them, not in her. Because if an individual believes that the love is outside themselves, they will always be looking for that, and it develops a codependent relationship. Rather than knowing what is being offered to me already is in me, I have it on my own, and if someone else sees it, then they embellish it. But I am it without anybody else.
No, that's a very big order. And who even knows if that's really what they feel? But at least it's something to think about. So let's kind of go back to something that I think that we talked about with the Healing Touch at this organization. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm one of the founding members of Healing Touch Buddies, and it's an organization of amazing women that are trained in energy therapies to offer complementary services of energy work for 1 year, up to 1 year for any woman that is diagnosed with breast cancer. So we provide that support along the journey. You know, it's a very frightening journey. If they don't have any contact with the body, there's a lot of new knowledge, learning. They're going to see doctors. Their bodies are being treated as things. And so the complementary services are extremely important during anyone's journey in the normal healthcare system.
Yeah, well, so if somebody wants more information about that, please call Colleen. Is that how we should do it, Colleen?
We can do that, or there's the organization Healing Touch Buddies.
Let me give Healing Touch Buddies. It's 561-741-1671, 741-1671. And I can assure you that everything you do that has anything to do with Colleen, you will be full of gratefulness. And I thank you very much for coming in, Colleen.
Thank you, Anita. It's always a pleasure.